Have you ever really stopped to think about what you are? I mean, at your very core. Go beyond your body, beyond your thoughts, even beyond your memories. What's left? Well, an ancient philosophical text, the Bhagavad Gita, has a pretty mind-blowing perspective on this. So let's dive in and explore what it has to say.
This verse right here, from the original Sanskrit, is where we're going to start. Now it translates to this: the soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. I mean, wow, that is a powerful, absolute statement, right? So let's really break down what this text even means by the soul.
So, the source defines the soul as the fundamental, individual spirit, basically the very essence of who we are. And its number one characteristic? It's completely 100% indestructible. But this isn't just some nice, poetic idea. Oh no, the text gets very, very specific about what that actually means.
To really hammer this point home, the commentary on the verse breaks down the soul's invincibility against pretty much every fundamental force you can imagine. And honestly, it's a fascinating way to look at it.
First up, weapons. The text is clear that no weapon can cut the soul. And we're not just talking about some ancient swords and arrows here. The commentary makes it very clear this applies to any weapon, no matter how scientifically advanced. Think about that. From a simple kitchen knife all the way up to the most powerful nuclear device, the soul remains totally untouched.
Okay, next up is fire. And get this, the source material actually mentions some pretty advanced stuff like flame weapons from ancient times and even sophisticated water weapons that were used to fight them. But the point is, even these incredibly powerful elemental forces described in the text, they have zero effect on the soul.
And you guessed it, the same principle holds true for water. The commentary even brings up rain weapons to show that not even this all-pervasive element can get to our essential nature.
And finally, we have wind. The text even mentions tornado weapons, just to complete the picture. So, the message is crystal clear. No physical force, it doesn't matter how powerful or how sophisticated it is capable of harming the spirit soul.
So if the soul is this indestructible, individual thing, then what's its relationship to the supreme, the original source of everything? Well, the text uses this absolutely brilliant analogy to help us get our heads around this idea. Here it is. The supreme is like a giant fire, and each one of us is like a tiny spark from that fire. Now, here's the absolutely critical part. The source says these sparks are eternally separated parts. We were never just cut from the fire. We share the same quality as the fire, but as individual sparks, if we're apart from it, we can get covered or kind of extinguished by the darkness of illusion. Now, this whole idea of being an eternally separated part is a very precise philosophical point. And to make it even clearer, the commentary actually brings in a contrasting viewpoint. This really helps to sharpen our understanding of what the text is actually saying.
And this really gets to the heart of a huge philosophical debate. If we all come from one supreme source, does that mean our sense of self, our individuality, is just an illusion that disappears once we reach enlightenment or liberation?
So you have two very different positions here. On one side, you've got the Mayavadi view, which basically says our individuality is just a product of ignorance. And when we're liberated, the soul just merges back into the whole and loses its identity. But the Bhagavad Gita argues the exact opposite. It says souls are eternally separate, and we keep our individuality even after we're freed from illusion.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. The Bhagavad Gita gives us a prime, practical example right inside its own story to show how this works. And it all centers around the figure of Arjuna.
So let's just walk through this. Arjuna receives this divine knowledge directly from Krishna. This totally liberates him from his ignorance and all his confusion. But, and this is the most crucial part of the whole example, even after reaching this enlightened state, Arjuna doesn't just merge with Krishna. He's still a separate individual person who now acts in full, perfect consciousness.
This quote from the commentary just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up the key takeaway. So, liberation isn't about destroying the self. It's about purifying the self. According to this text, your individual identity is not some temporary phase you have to get over. It's an eternal reality.
So where does all this leave us? I mean, if we follow the logic of this text, that our essential self is an eternal, individual spark that can never, ever be destroyed, it naturally leads to an even deeper question. What's the ultimate purpose of a soul that's designed to be indestructible? Now that is a thought to carry with you.